Hello, welcome to Chrysalis Invictus Tarot. Today we have a very special reading that I was guided to do this afternoon. And the theme is hawk. I have no idea what to expect. I do think that this will be a somewhat esoteric or spiritual reading, but we'll see how it goes. I have 3 piles for you represented by the 3 cards here. So pile number 1 is from the Animal Totem Tarot. And the hawk here represents, or at least what I hope is the hawk, represents the 2 of Pentacles. And then from, I think this is a Power Animal deck, Hawk, Focus, choose your priorities and eliminate all distractions is the message on this card. So maybe the message resonates with you, or maybe the number. Just choose from your intuition, taking some deep breaths, grounding down. And then finally from the Celtic Animal Totem, this beautiful hawk card. So I am going to use the Wildwood Tarot and my Brian Froud's Faeries Oracle to do this reading. These are my powerhouse. Usually I use them for my personal readings, but I am going to bring them out tonight. So using your intuition to select a pile, I will meet you there. Pile number 1, you chose the hawk with the 2 of Pentacles in the nest. So for this pile, I'm really getting that this has something to do with your home, providing for your home, paying your mortgage, perhaps side hustle or the development of a new career path. For some of you, this is about taking a higher perspective on your future. So something that seems impractical for your future may be, in fact, more practical in the end. So something along those lines. Let's take a look at what's coming up from our tarot cards. And because this was sort of an impromptu thing and I was very guided, this is going to be a channeled and very intuitive reading. So what messages does the hawk have for pile number 1? We have the 6 of Arrows, transition. Yeah, again, there's this feeling of moving from one mode of being or one way of thinking to another. And you probably can't see it, but there is a wolf calling out to the moon. So what I'm really getting from this is that you have followed your intuition and it has led you to new ideas about your life and security. And the swan is represented here on the boat. And what I'm really getting from this is that there is no smooth sailing in this transition, because though it may look like it's gliding above the water, what's happening under the surface, and this could be representative of you, what's underneath the surface is a lot of churning and disruption, and it takes a lot of work to make things look easy. And maybe this is part of your transition. Maybe this is part of your message. Maybe you have been making something look easy that you actually put a lot of work into, and so you don't necessarily get recognized for those things. But in following guidance, the sun is sinking. The sun is sinking and there's a feeling of cold. And the moon rising bright means that the moon is going to illuminate your way instead of the sun through this transition, through this next part of your journey. So whatever that means to you, whatever your moon practice is, you're very much guided by the moon here through this time of transition. Moving away from something, well, there's more. Moving away from something that seems warm. This is the thing, is you're moving into what appears to be the cold. But at some point you're going to look back and recognize that that was you being out in the cold, this sunny space, the sun that's setting, where you really felt like you were on top of your game or you belonged to something. And you did for a time. This is really appropriate for Sagittarius season as well, in that Sagittarius expands our outlook and is also the card of like wandering and travel. So what other messages do we have for pile number 1? Three of Vessels, joy. So there is an aspect of this that involves a new community, a new sense of camaraderie or teamwork. Perhaps what you're moving away from is a situation where there is an imbalance in the effort that's put forth in the team or something of that nature. I really feel we're going to get some fairy cards to clarify this, because I need some clarification on the Three of Vessels for pile number 1. What is the message? Oh, okay. Interesting. Just give me a moment here to tap into the messages. You've been barreling through with this idea of community, but part of that involved you deceiving yourself about what that meant, or what that is, or what your needs are. And so maybe part of that community was an imbalance. Perhaps you were the bottom point of a triangle holding others up. But there are lies that you would tell yourself that would get you through, or things, aspects you would believe in. It's sort of like drinking corporate Kool-Aid, if you will, where you really believe in what you're doing for a period of time, and then something is unveiled, but you continue to carry around that old belief because you don't know what else to do. So this is what you're moving away from. This is what you're moving away from. And what are you moving toward? Let's get a tarot card for what you're moving toward. What is pile number 1 moving toward? Oh my gosh, the swan again. There's so much bird imagery in your cards. I mean, I guess that's appropriate for a hawk reading, but the Queen of Arrows. You are moving toward a sense of self that is very comforting. I'm getting like you know yourself and you know your needs and you know your wants and you know what you're worth. This is knowing your worth. And again, gliding, it's interesting that this came up, like gliding over the surface, and there's a lot going on underneath that's still happening, but you are not the vessel for another person. You are scrambling under the surface for yourself. So this could be taking, with this Two of Pentacles, taking your side hustle, taking your hobby job or the thing that you've been doing part-time and making it your full-time gig. There's a lot, like these are water birds. And even here, the hawk's nest is centered in the water. So there's a lot of emotion involved here. And it's the Queen of Arrows. So like the Queen of Swords, but it's a swan. It's a water bird. So perhaps these were the barriers that existed before were emotional. And now you've come into a space where you understand your emotions and you know how to work with them. What else are you moving toward? Let's get a message from the fairies. So a little bit more clarity on this Queen of Arrows. What is pile number 1 moving toward? Okay, so here we go. This is not what you're moving toward necessarily, so much as what has held you back. So all of this emotion that I was talking about, this could be depression, self-pity, issues of self-worth. So this is still going to be something that you need to pay attention to. And one of the things that this that the book suggests is that you throw yourself a pity party. So for instance, if you're feeling grumpy one day, to just say it, to just call it and say, I'm grumpy, and allow that to be true. And usually when you own that feeling, by the time you move through your day, by the time you get to your afternoon, it's no longer true. And even if it is, you've leaned into the feeling and you allow it to speak to you. So this is going to be something to a challenge in this transition. But it's been a challenge for you before. So it's not like it's anything new. I'm not sharing new information with you at all. So let's see what other information we have here. The loam reversed. Okay, so sometimes you have tiny visions, but sometimes it's very loud and very clear, the guidance that you're receiving. So whatever's coming through right now, whatever guide is very stern with you in this moment. And what I'm hearing is that this Queen of Arrows defends this self-pity. So this is, for example, if you have a mental health diagnosis, this is not having that diagnosis empower you, but it's disempowering. So you use it as an excuse. And I'm not saying mental health is an excuse at all. So let me be clear. But, and you will know if this is true, this is disempowering yourself. Backsliding. And actually, holding your future self hostage in a way. And this is what you're moving out of. I keep asking what you're moving toward, and it keeps showing me what you're moving out of. So let's take another perspective. So if we're looking from the perspective of a hawk, this is what you're stuck in. Self-deceit, self-depression, self-pity, and making mountains out of molehills, I'm hearing here. So if we zoom out, this is what's oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what you're stuck in. These are your lower vibrations down here. The fairies are representing your lower vibrations. The tarot cards are representing your higher vibrations. So you are reminded that in this transition, you have done a tremendous amount of work to heal yourself, and you are supported. In this Queen of Swords or Queen of Arrows here, that you are gliding above the water, you are not within it, you are not drowning in it, that you are able to navigate these waters. And then here, the self-deception or this deception, sorry, I knocked the camera, that you have actually cultivated a sense, and actually there's the shape almost of the cranes here on his forehead. You have a third eye. You have trained your third eye. You have trained your intuition to navigate deceitful people. These are all old fears. These are all things that you have moved through already. I hope you're still with me to get this positive twist. This is fantastic. This is what is empowering you to make this shift. And you see the difference in the reading when we are looking down to up. But because this is a hawk reading, we are looking from high above. What are all the details? What are all the pieces? All of the pieces are that you are moving away from something that is not for you. That you have the discernment and the intellect and the know-how and the skills to do this. And you are supported and will find community and connection through this transition. This is a beautiful message. That's what I have for you, pile number 1. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, pile number 2, welcome to your reading. So you chose this hawk card from the Power Animal deck. Focus, choose your priorities, and eliminate all distractions. So there's a lot of mental energy in this reading. And we are going to pull some cards. I was trying to receive some messages, but I need to pull cards first for this guy to speak. So let's see what messages we have for you regarding what are the messages from Hawk to pile number 2. 2 cards coming out. The Knight of Vessels, and I dropped it. I believe it's the 8 of Bows. Correct. Hearthfire. Okay. This message is coming in pretty darn clear. Pile number 2. The hawk sees that you have been distracted by interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships. Perhaps you're distracted by love, desiring of love, or getting into situationships, or it could be seeking a lot of guidance regarding love, really a hyper focus on what's going on with other people, what's going on with your partner or with your future partner, which is great. You have a big heart and you have a lot of warmth and love, which is indicated here. But what the hawk is saying is that it's time to draw that energy into yourself. So start feeding yourself with love, start feeding yourself with this passion, start giving yourself loving advice and attention. there is some important work that needs to be done. So what is this work that needs to be done? Please tell me, what is this work that needs to be done? The Archer. You have a very specific goal at this time. And you've got some powerful, powerful energies behind you, helping you and supporting you. And this is something that you have built from the ground up. You've been building it for quite some time. And you have the intellectual capacity, the wherewithal is the only other word I'm getting, to make this happen. But what's happening is that you're here aiming this arrow, but on your mind you've got this and this. The Knight of Cups is like a beautiful love offering here. It's represented by the eel. So it's something quite slippery, a bit of a slippery slope for you. That if you get into this space of being able to focus on this thing, and then you get distracted and you slide back in. So this is about taking the energy back from these romantic relationships and putting it back into this mission that you're on, this very specific mental work that needs your attention at this time. Another part of what I'm getting is that this may involve the supporting of your community or the supporting of other people. And so you get distracted with the responsibility of that, of how you want to provide for the people, how you want to nurture that community. Or you are nurturing that community, you get drawn into their stories and you get drawn into their problems, and then you forget to do what you are meant to do. So that's why this hawk here is talking about focus, because there's a tremendous amount of focus that's needed to hit the target here. And remember that, you know, she has a whole basket of arrows. So if you miss, that's okay. Like, it's okay that you're getting distracted. It's okay that these things are happening. It's just that in order to accomplish this task, these are the things that that are needed, or that are need. Okay. We're going to get some guidance from the fairies about this. Some guidance. Okay, I think I'm going to pull all three of them and see what we have here. Okay. This is a very interesting message. Okay. So Iris of the Rainbow traditionally represents hope. And what I'm getting here is that this is a focus, or I don't know if you've aimed and shot before this arrow, or if it's just something that you have thought of, or it's just something that you've been preparing for. But there is this feeling of loss of hope that, you know, you get distracted and maybe you don't have the same kind of follow through. And so then you think, oh, I failed. It's never going to happen. And I feel that this is very much a cycle. Some of you are, this mission, if you will, has to do with healing. So maybe you're healers in some capacity, whatever that means. To me, a healer is someone who facilitates other people, or teaches other people, or guides other people's healing. Facilitates other people's healing is a great way of putting it, because we ourselves are not healers, but healing moves through us and is channeled through us either through energies or through what we teach. Here, I feel like there is a teaching role that you take on as you guide, a facilitation of the movement from one space to the other for some of you. And so what this does, this lack of hope, it creates this indecision, this feeling of like choice where there actually isn't one. So you can see that there's this much larger, I don't even know if that's a teardrop or if it's just an orb of some kind, but the indecision here is based on you being distracted, not on this not being your purpose. So when we turn this over, there's so much hope. There's a tremendous amount of healing and growth and ascension, initiation, all of those beautiful things, all of those beautiful spiritual concepts are contained here in this energy. So when you're feeling like, oh, maybe this isn't for me or this isn't right, it's just that you're lacking this focus because you're getting distracted with your loved ones and friends. So this could also be that your healing energy is going into your love relationships and your friendships. And when you remove that energy from your friendships, or at least from those who are not reciprocating, it will free up energy that you can use for your work. So this could be counseling, teaching, maybe you're like a physical healer, a nurse of some kind, whatever it is, midwife, doula. These are tremendously important jobs, and particularly when you're bringing this energy to the table, when you're bringing this kind of energy to the table, this level of love and this level of community. It's so important that you do this work. But it's time to take that energy out of your personal life and put it into the work itself, is the message that I'm getting from the hawk for you. And if you take the perspective of the hawk, if you zoom out on this reading, what you have here is this beautiful, passionate, loving energy with a tremendous amount of healing and knowledge and hope. And this is not just hope for you, this is hope for others. And here you can see Indy is standing on the head of someone else. And so sometimes we think we hold ourselves back from our gifts, or we do this. This is to me like plan A and plan B. And at some point in my life, someone said to me that if you have a plan B, you will always fall back on it because it's more comfortable. So to throw out plan B and go all in on plan A, and you can see that plan A is far more fruitful. And it shouldn't be a choice, but as long as you're making it a choice, that stands on the head of other people. And what I'm getting for you about that is that these skills and abilities and the things that you have to teach, you are withholding from other people at this time, and people need you in a larger capacity than for some of you, the strays that you've picked up in your life, who are leeching off of you and feeding off of you, and who are not reciprocating and feeding into this healer energy that you have to bring. So you are asked to come into this space of focus and focus on yourself for the bigger picture, to come into this role as a healer. So that's what I have for you, pile number 2. Thank you so much for joining. Pile number 3, welcome to your reading. And you chose this Celtic totem hawk. And the channeled message I'm getting for you from the hawk is about claws. It's about gripping onto branches, gripping onto a ground, gripping onto things that are no longer needed. This is about being afraid to fly, about being afraid to take the higher perspective, or to have faith, or to believe in something. So let's take a look at the tarot cards and see what other messages we have for you. You're definitely being called to look more through your third eye, to look and to connect in with your crown energy. Okay, we have the Three of Vessels, joy. This is a powerful symbol for you at this time, the triangle. Taking the view that there are three sides to everything. So maybe you are considering the mental and the physical aspect of things, but you're not taking into account the spiritual within yourself. So you're reminded that while yes, the material is important, and so is the mental, the idea, how does it speak to your soul? How does it speak to your spirit? What is it to the bigger perspective, the bigger picture? I'm going to get more. I'd like to know more about this. Can we be more specific about... And I'm really getting that this, of the three, it's sort of worked out that the first one is body, the second is mind, and the third is spirit. So this may be a very spiritual message, and it may not feel grounded enough, but that's actually kind of the point for you, it seems. Okay. So you have a very deep and strong connection to the earth, to the, okay, so I'm getting two things here. One is that there's an imbalance in the root. So there has been some root trauma, but this almost makes you cling to the ground even more. And that's done through ideas. But there's this shamanic energy coursing through you. And there's a way in which you balance both masculine and feminine within yourself. And so you're looking to bury yourself in your intellect, to bury yourself in what is grounded, your material situation, but you're being asked to, again, it's what about spirit? Discovering drum journeying may be helpful for you. Connecting with the spirit of the stag. Let's get another message. This is the least focused of all the readings, so it's very interesting. I'm excited to see how this will turn out. Okay. If you don't make the change will be made for you, or perhaps it already has been. The blasted oak is somewhat akin to the Tower card, but you see the... Okay. So this is like, I'm going to take a different perspective. I'm going to think about this from all different angles. And that's all well and good. We have the Hanged Man in a way. Shifting their perspective, taking that time to consider something from a different perspective. But this is telling you that you have considered it from all perspectives and now you're just stalling. It's time for action. You're also supported in this action and you have all the tools. So somewhere along the line, you've been gathering these things knowingly or unknowingly. I think in your case, probably more unknowingly. And if you aren't about to walk your path, you are going to be pushed along it. The hawk is telling you you have stuff to do. Let's get on with it. All right, so let's see what the fairies have to say. I just saw 555. That might be significant to some of you. All right, I'm going to pull all three just so I get a fuller picture of what's happening here. Already I can tell that you are, there's some inner masculine work to be done here for sure. And the masculine work, based on what I've said so far, has to do with this overthinking. So maybe being more logical than intuitive, which I think I said at the very beginning. It was like open your third eye and your crown. Oop. I'm terrible for dropping cards. I don't think this is probably relaxing for you, and you can hear all the creaky chair, but we're doing our best here, delivering some messages. Okay, yes. How is this even? Look at this. What did I say about your path? Get out of your head and take the first step. You don't know what you have in here. And that's the thing, is like, there's so much belief and trust that's needed to know that what's in here, what you're taking with you, is enough to get you through this journey. And if it's not, you will meet others along the way who will help you, or you will find tools along the way that will help you. So with this, there's a bit of a distorted masculine. There's a favoring of the ego. So there's a lot of ego work to do here, which is related to the masculine. And when I say ego, I'm not saying that you're a jerk or anything like that. I'm saying that, you know, sometimes when we're feeling insecure, or sometimes when we feel low self-worth, that's the ego. That's the ego self telling us that our self is not enough. And so we're turning this energy over, and we see that it comes upwards. So here, this energy kind of fizzles out because it's all bottom heavy, and it ends up burning our feet. So it's hard to walk along that path. But as we turn that over and we begin to balance our solar plexus, especially, humble ourselves, understand that failures are not about us. It has a lot more to do with details outside of our control and outside of us than it has to do with us. And that's where the ego gets fragile, is like if you've experienced failures, or if you're afraid of how people will see you. Usually those things have a lot more to do with things outside of ourselves than it does with us, than they do with us. And so this is embracing your inner sun. So there could be also issues of temper for some of you. You may find that you get easily frustrated or have temper issues, and think that you have to squash all of your passionate energy. But your passionate energy is important to you and to your spirit. It's a really important part of who you are. And then we have Leste, Moon's daughter, and she's actually interested to see what you'll do next. So there's something about you that's actually really kind of sporadic and fascinating. And when you get outside of your head and when you embrace this journey, other people are going to be really interested in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And so this judgment that some of you fear, or that all of you fear, the judgment that you're fearing is actually unfounded. There are a lot of people just really interested in what you're going to do next. And you could be a creative person, and this is a creative awakening, and there's some art that you are meant to share with the world. Song that you're meant to share with the world that is currently being held in a dream state. I'm getting that you don't believe that your dreams can come true, not fully. And so the ego comes in and says, well, I'm talented, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. But there's still this layer of self-doubt that's keeping you where you are. So if we take a zoomed out perspective, if we take this perspective of the hawk, what energies do we have here? We have joy, communion, people coming together in your warmth through things you created in your subconscious, through things you created in your dreams. We have you being able to translate, this unfortunate situation into a journey of self-discovery that other people will relate to. I really feel like you are a beacon for some people. And this doesn't mean that you have to take like a big formal position, not for all of you. Like some of you, maybe there's influence on a mass scale, but this can be, you influence your child, you influence a sibling, you influence a friend, and that alone, that being contagious, is such a beautiful thing. But there really is this sort of rhythm that you're being asked to connect to. So we have this incredible, natural ability. And this feels like once you get on this journey, it's going to feel like home. It's going to feel like you return to yourself. And who doesn't want that? This is what I have for you, pile number 3. Thank you so much for joining me.